Science 4, MATATAG Curriculum, Quarter 1, Lesson 2A, Materials and Their Uses, Unveiling Chemical Properties, Combustibility, Reactivity, and Degradability. At the end of this lesson, the learner should be able to describe the chemical properties of materials, such as they can be burnt, react with other materials, or are degradable or biodegradable. Objectives: distinguish between combustible and non-combustible materials by conducting guided experiments. Examine various materials to identify instances of chemical reactions and categorize them as reactive or non-reactive. Assess the degradability and biodegradability of common materials by investigating their behavior under specific conditions. Have you ever wondered why some things burn easily while others do not? Or why metal gets rusty over time? Understanding the properties of materials helps scientists and engineers create safer buildings, make longer-lasting toys, and even bake yummier cakes. Let us dive into the fascinating world of physical and chemical properties and see how they affect everything around us. How do the properties of different materials determine how they react to changes in their environment? Let's find out. It's activity time. Fizz, flame, and flow. Let us look at some fascinating chemical changes. You will need small cups, baking soda, vinegar, sugar, a small candle, matches, and water. Here's what you will do. First, place a teaspoon of baking soda into a cup. Add a small amount of vinegar and observe. Second, sprinkle a small amount of sugar on a flat, fire-safe surface. Third, carefully light the sugar with a match under adult supervision and observe. Fourth, light the candle and place a cup upside down over it and observe. Lastly, pour a small amount of water onto a flat surface and watch how it behaves. Here is the data table for our activity. Reflect and understand. Why did the baking soda and vinegar react the way they did? When baking soda's sodium bicarbonate is mixed with vinegar acetic acid, it reacts to produce carbon dioxide gas, water, and sodium acetate. This reaction can cause the mixture to bubble and fizz. The release of carbon dioxide gas can make the mixture expand and overflow the container if the container is not large enough. What differences did you notice between the reaction of sugar to fire and the candle flame under the cup? The main difference between these two scenarios lies in the behavior of the sugar versus the behavior of the candle flame under the cup. While sugar does not react significantly with fire, the reaction between baking soda and vinegar can affect a nearby flame by cutting off the supply of oxygen needed for combustion, leading to the extinction of the flame. How does understanding the reactions of different materials help us in everyday life? Understanding the reactions of different materials is essential for developing new technologies, improving safety, optimizing processes, and enhancing quality of life. By studying and applying our knowledge of chemical reactions, we can improve our understanding of the world around us and develop innovative solutions to real-world problems. Understanding the physical and chemical properties of materials is crucial in many aspects of everyday life and scientific endeavors. Properties of materials. Physical properties. Traits that can be observed or measured without changing the substance's chemical identity. Examples: density, color, and melting point. Generally reversible. These properties can be directly observed or measured using sensors or instruments. Chemical properties. Traits that can be observed or measured when a substance changes identity to undergoes chemical change. Examples: flammability, reactivity, and acidity. Generally irreversible. These properties require chemical reactions to be observed and measured. Extensive properties depend on the amount of substance present. Examples: mass, volume, length, energy, entropy, electric charge, heat capacity. These properties change as the amount of matter in a system changes. Intensive properties do not depend on the amount of substance present. Examples: density, color, boiling point, melting point, hardness, conductivity, solubility. They describe the intrinsic properties of a substance that do not change with the amount of matter present. Chemical properties. Combustion. A chemical property. Substance reacts rapidly with oxygen, often producing heat and light. Paper, wood, and plastic undergo combustion. In the Philippines, understanding the combustibility of materials is particularly important during the dry season to prevent and manage wildfires. Reactivity. A chemical property refers to how readily a substance undergoes a chemical change. Chemical changes can be indicated by several observations such as color change, formation of solid, bubbling. Degradability. A chemical property describes how substances break down over time. Biodegradable materials decompose naturally. Non-biodegradable materials do not decompose easily. Acidity and toxicity. Acidity, measure of a substance's ability to donate hydrogen ions. Toxicity, substance's potential to cause harm to living organisms. It's time for another activity. Try to guess the type of property. Is it physical, chemical, extensive, or intensive properties? Boiling water at 100. Physical property. When water is boiled at 100 degrees Celsius, a physical property called boiling is present. Boiling is a physical change, not a chemical reaction. No new substances are formed during boiling. Instead, the existing water molecules simply change from a liquid phase to a gas phase. Gold having a fixed mass. Extensive property. Gold having a fixed mass is considered an extensive property of material because it depends on the amount of material present. Extensive properties are physical quantities that depend on the size or quantity of a material. They are additive in nature, meaning that if you combine two samples of the same material, the total value of the extensive property will be the sum of the values of the individual samples. Salt dissolving in water. Intensive property. The solubility of salt in water is an intensive property, since it is a characteristic of the material itself and does not depend on the amount of material present. Solubility is a measure of the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in a solvent at a given temperature and pressure. Wood burning in a fireplace. Chemical property. The combustion of wood in a fireplace is an example of a chemical property of materials, since it involves chemical reactions that produce new substances and release energy. Ice cube melting. Physical property. Ice cube melting is a physical property of a material since it does not involve a change in the chemical identity of the substance. Diamond hardness. Intensive property. Diamond's hardness is an intensive property of the material, meaning that it is a fundamental characteristic that is independent of the amount of diamond present. Whether a diamond is large or small, its hardness remains the same. Fermentation. Chemical property. Fermentation is a complex biochemical process that involves multiple steps and biochemical pathways, but it ultimately results in the transformation of starting materials into new substances, making it a chemical property of the materials involved. Air expanding when heated. Physical property. Air expands when heated due to the physical property of thermal expansion. Air is a mixture of several gases, including nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and carbon dioxide. Each of these gases follows the ideal gas law, which states that the volume of a gas is directly proportional to its temperature, assuming constant pressure and amount of gas. Therefore, as the temperature of the air increases, the volume of the gas also increases, leading to the expansion of the air. Oil not mixing with water. Physical property. The immiscibility of oil and water arises from the different types of intermolecular forces that exist between oil molecules, usually nonpolar, and water molecules, polar. Since these forces are different, there is little attraction between oil and water molecules, leading to their separation into distinct layers when mixed. Blowing up a balloon. Physical property. When blowing up a balloon, several physical properties of the material may come into play. These physical properties can all influence the behavior of a balloon when it is inflated, and they can be measured or observed without changing the chemical composition or structure of the material. Let's remember, understanding the physical and chemical properties of materials helps us predict how substances will behave under different conditions. Properties are classified as either extensive, depending on the amount of substance, or intensive, which remain constant regardless of the amount of the material. Chemical properties such as combustion, reactivity, degradability, acidity, and toxicity are crucial in various industries and environmental management. Knowledge of these properties is essential in everyday life, from ensuring fire safety and material preservation to managing waste and understanding health implications. That's all for today. Thank you. Don't forget to like and share this video, and subscribe to our channel for more of this content.